What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the same. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here. I am the founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Thanks for tuning into this special Best Of episode where we'll take a look back at some of our favorite moments from previous conversations.
This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help B2B businesses give to and connect to their Dream 200 relationships and partnerships. We do this in two ways. Number one, we are an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast for ROI. We do the strategy, accountability, and full execution and production. Number two, we are also an easy button for your company's corporate gifting. We make gifting and staying top of mind to your clients, partners, and prospects simple and seamless and affordable. Some companies even send gifts to staff from a culture perspective. All you have to do is give us the list of people you want to follow up and keep in touch with, and we do everything else from there, from gift selection to the card to your branding on the box. We call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background to make it as stress-free as possible for companies so they can build relationships and run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships, and I am always looking at how to give to my best relationships. And I've found no better way over the past decade than having them on my podcast, featuring what they are working on and sharing it with the world, and also sending delicious treats in the mail every few months for years. If you have thought about starting a podcast or gifting, do it. If you have questions, email us at support@rise25.com or go to rise25.com to learn more.
Now, let's look back at some of our favorite moments from past conversations. Dr. Jeremy Wise here. This is Great People, Great Resources. I'm here with an amazing individual, Mitch Steinberg. He's going to share some of his favorite resources. It could be books, it could be websites. Before we launch into it, Mitch, I just want people to learn a little bit more about you and what you do. And I'll pull up your website. Just share where people can find you and what you do.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Our company is Wilshire Consulting Partners. We are an accounting firm located in Northbrook, Illinois. We specialize in small businesses and working with individuals. So I would say probably 50% of our revenue is tax related in terms of individual tax returns and then business returns and partnership returns. And the other 50% would be CFO services, outsourced bookkeeping, family office, bill paying type activities. So it could start off that you're an individual client, start a business, sell the business, and you go through the process with us as you grow.
I know we'll get into resources, but I have to ask, Mitch, so what are the biggest mistakes people make, like from a CFO services? They're probably maybe not so organized. What are they asking you? And what are you seeing under the hood of the mistakes people are making?
Well, underneath the hood is their books are not correct. They're only looking at their bank account and to see that they have cash in the bank to pay payroll, to pay rent, to pay their car payments. What they're not doing is properly allocating their expenses. Be it if, say, they have a mortgage payment, breaking out mortgage interest and principal payments, car payments, capitalizing if they're buying new equipment, be it restaurant equipment or computers, and not putting it on the balance sheet and properly depreciating that over time.
Love it. And then, so people can check it out. We're right here. If you're listening to the audio, there's a video component at wilshirecp.com that you can learn more. And so much resources. You love biographies. What are some of your favorites?
A few that comes to mind. One is Shoe Dog, about Phil Knight, which
that's one of my favorites. Totally
is the creator of Nike, the founder of Nike, and he's actually an accountant by trade and was an accountant before he started Nike, but just a true visionary of way before the time and bringing in products from Japan and then China and Indonesia and really about branding. Another book that I read recently was about Dick Portillo. So if anyone's from Chicago listening to this, Portillo's, and he started with a little hot dog stand with no running water and sold it for a billion dollars. And what I
I
really,
like Portillo's for sure.
I've never heard anyone that doesn't like Portillo's. Uh, what was really interesting about that book is in his eyes, he made the restaurant business so simple, but yet to anyone else in the restaurant business, it was very complicated. So what he did was he built a moat around his business that it was not, you weren't able to replicate it. McDonald's, Subway, Jimmy John's, they're replicating the stores over and over again. And that's why they have thousands of stores. No one was able ever to copy his menu and his atmosphere at the stores because it was too complicated. You couldn't replicate that 1,000 times. And then the most
Out of the
recent,
Doghouse, if you want to check out of the Doghouse, Dick Portillo, it says turning a 1,100 investment into $1 billion profit with Don Yeager. Actually, I've had Don Yeager on the podcast who co-authored or wrote the book.
and then new biography I'm reading about is Only God Could Judge Me by Jeff Pearlman, which is the biography of Tupac Shakur. So just fascinating his upbringing, his life experiences, his mother's life experiences as a Black Panther representing herself in court. She had a drug addiction problem, but what he learned and maybe some of the breaks or that he got in life early on. I'm only about halfway through it with going to some of the art schools in Baltimore and him moving around and living in squalor. And, he's been gone for almost 30 years. He was only 26 years old when he was shot. And what he was able to accomplish, and it really shows me, same thing with Dick Portillo. He never went to college. Right? He may have went to college for a little bit, but I don't think he graduated. You know, Tupac didn't go to college. And what if you have nothing else to rely on, your skills and how to grow those skills and how to make them valuable to others.
Oh, thank you for the recommendation. I'm gonna have to check that out. I have some Audible credits. One other piece before we end, Mitch, I find it fascinating. We were talking about websites, and some of the websites you frequent actually shocked me a little bit. You talk about where you go every day.
Uh, I'm old school.
I didn't realize how old school you were. I didn't realize until you were talking.
I go to the Chicago Tribune. I go to the Daily Herald. I go to the Wall Street Journal online. I read it. I still get the Sunday paper delivered to my house, and in the Sunday paper, I'll read different sections than I would online. Um, and then every once in a while, I go to, entertainment websites just to get my mind off of work and read how silly some of these articles are, and makes me forget about real life for a few minutes. But yeah, I go to Chicago Tribune a lot, CNN, and then I also, go to Fox just to form my own opinion to see the other side.
I love it. Mitch, I want to thank you. Everyone can check out wilshirecp.com to learn more, and we'll see you everyone next time. Mitch, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, Dr. Jeremy Weiss here with Chris Mason, and this is Great People, Great Resources. Chris is one of the best people I know, and we're going to geek out on whatever he decides on top resources. It could be books, it could be software. He's really has a lot of knowledge in a lot of different topics, so we're going to go deep. And Chris, just start off and tell people what you do, and I'm going to pull up your website. You can check out chrismason.net. And when I say, Chris, like I say this to people, almost everything relationship-wise good tracks back to a podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I did not meet my wife on a podcast, but Chris and I met through the podcasting world way back when, right? So, and we're friends today. So
That's
tell
right.
people a little bit about what you do, and I'll pull up your site.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. So what I do is I work behind the scenes with different business owners. Primarily right now, I work with Titans and Brian Kurtz. I've been working with Brian for over a decade, building his business, and then I've had different clients sort of come and go. And so I started out just kind of focusing on writing copy, because kind of a copywriter for hire. But then as I got into that world, I started learning, um, how to build funnels and flows, and Infusionsoft is where I learned. And I realized that if you learn how to build automations in Infusionsoft, you can pretty much do it in any other CRM. So I'm thankful that I started there. So that just allowed me to kind of be able to go into different businesses, set up funnels, landing pages, develop offers for them. That's what I really started getting into is once I got to learn somebody's audience. Uh, I still always look for the missing offer um, that is not present. And then what I like to do is partner with them and create that offer. And yeah, you're looking at profit partners. So this was a training I did, just talking about how I set up these revenue share deals with different clients. I don't do that with every single client, but that is usually what I'm looking for is how can I remove some of the risk that they may feel of investing and working with me and just say, well, let's just do it like straight up on a rev share kind of deal.
We'll get into favorite book software, but I have to ask, you've worked with a lot of people, you've worked on a lot of offers. What are some big mistakes people make when it comes to offers, right? This could be on webinars, this could be on a sales page, it could be
Yeah.
wherever. What are some
I
big
mean,
mistakes?
well, from experience, so it's just you don't know if something's going to work until you just make the offer. And I've been guilty of just getting sort of too in the weeds of making it trying to make version 1, version 5. And so I think that's a big mistake I know that I've made. I'm sure other people have made it where you're just um, you're making something brand new, a brand new offer. You have to think in terms of like what's the least amount of the sort of the minimum viable product to go out and test it. What do I need to test that there's interest before you invest a ton of other time? Because then once you invest time, then you run into sunk cost fallacy and you start think it's harder to quit because you've invested all this time.
Yeah, love it. So talk about some of your favorite books.
Mm-hmm. I love the Walter Isaacson biography of Ben Franklin. I read that earlier this year, or I listened to it on Audible, and that was just a really inspiring book. Listening to his story and um, all that he accomplished in his life, and all the different businesses, the printing press, the fire station. He developed a new stove, the lightning rod. Like he was a fascinating individual. So that was a really inspiring book. I just finished reading this book called Codependent No More by Melody Beatty, I think is how you say her last name. And that was I've heard about that book for a while, just never read it. And man, it was great. Like if you're into sort of personal development and codependency is I don't know when the term first came about, but basically like you're struggling getting your value from the opinions of other people, like what their opinions of you, and you feel like you sort of need that to feel good about yourself. That's one example of codependency. And so her book was great. That was also, it's on Spotify. That's where I listened to it. And then she's got this great, I just discovered, it's called The Language of Letting Go, which is like a daily meditation. And I've just started, and it's like, 2 or 3 minutes. And I've started listening to that every day as well. And so that's kind of the two most recent ones. And then I have to also mention Breakthrough Advertising. That book changed my life.
I was
And
gonna say, if you don't mention a copywriting book, I'm gonna be like, I'm out.
yeah, I mean, that's the first book one of the first books I read to get introduced to copywriting. And, all these years later, like I wrote a study guide for it and teamed up with Brian, and we teach the concepts in the Breakthrough Advertising Bootcamp. So that's been an amazing journey.
Here it is, right here.
Getting into that book. Yeah, exactly. So it was that was a really fun project to work on, and we continue to evolve it today. So now we're like figuring out how to, sort of how do you use take the concepts of breakthrough advertising and fuse it with AI, for example.
What was one you remember a big impact of breakthrough advertising for you in the book?
It's on the very first page that was like a huge light bulb where it's talking about mass desire, and the paraphrased version is that mass desire is pre-existing in the market, that marketing doesn't create desire. It just takes the hopes and dreams and essentially channels those towards your product. So I think when I first started learning how to do direct response and everything like that, like I had it in my mind that I'm trying to like create and manufacture this desire for whatever the offer was in the product, where was what Gene is saying is like you have to figure out what desire is already there and then show how your product fulfills that already existing desire. So you sort of channel it. And that was a really helpful framework. And there are a bunch in that book, but that one just slapped me in the face the first time I read it. And I think it's on page 1.
Love it. Read no further. No,
Yeah, exactly.
Any other favorite copywriting, marketing books? I'll mention, obviously Brian Kurtz's Over Deliver is a great one. People could check that one out. What are some of your other favorites?
The other one that I read often is Dan Kennedy's No BS Guide to Direct Marketing, I think is the name of it. And if you just want like a really simple sort of checklist about like all the different elements to include in a direct response offer, then that's a fantastic book. Very simple. Oh, and then recently, now I'm thinking about it, Caleb O'Dowd wrote this book, Monetization. And he's got this exercise in there called the 1050s. And it's basically this exercise of listing out all the different, not it goes way beyond like features and benefits, and you're answering like specific questions that a prospect would have about your offer.
This one here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a fantastic.
He's a genius copywriter for sure.
Yeah, he is for sure. He's amazing.
Learn from Gary Halbert.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on the podcast before. He's
awesome.
Smart dude. This is great. I think one of my favorites is the Joe Sugarman books. He's got a bunch. He's got triggers, and it's I forgot if it's called like the Ad Week something. Yeah, the Ad Week copywriting handbook or something. And it was kind of similar to what you were saying about the Gene Schwartz, right? It wasn't any like big thing. It was just broke down copywriting for me, which was, Jeremy, and I got to know him before he died. Jeremy, what's the point of the headline? To get to the subheadline. What's the point of the subheadline? To get to the first sentence. What's the point of the first sentence? To get to the second sentence. So each line, I was like, oh yeah, okay. Like thinking of everything, but starting with like, it's kind of like 80-20, right? Perry Marshall books are great, 80-20 sales and marketing. Like if your headline sucks, they're not going to the subhead. They're not going to read the rest of the whole thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that was profound to me. Anyways, any other favorites?
Yep. One to Many, Jason Fladlien. It's a great book for putting a presentation, a webinar together. That's that book, and the one I mentioned by Dan Kennedy, No BS. I refer to those quite often. And Great Leads by Michael Masterson and
yeah.
John. I'm sorry, I forget the other guy's name. That's well, now that I think about Michael Masterson, Ready, Fire, Aim was a really impactful book for me early on in my journey, because
John Ford.
John Ford, thank you.
I had John on the podcast also, actually.
Did
you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Way back
I don't
when.
know John. I haven't met. I've got to meet Michael.
If we ever release our Giants of Direct Response course, all these will be live and available. So stay tuned if you want to know what we're talking about. Just ask me.
Yep.
This is great, Chris. I really appreciate your time, expertise, and I was looking up. We first started emailing in 2013, actually, about podcasting and stuff like that. So it's come full circle. Everyone can check out chrismason.net to learn more. He is the secret weapon behind the scenes marketing scientist. So, Chris, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
All right, Jeremy Weiss here. I'm here with Alex Gluz. You can check him out at tamonroe.com. And, we're going to talk about some favorite resources. It could be books, podcasts. Alex has a few. He's always given me good recommendations throughout the years. Before we launch into that, Alex, just talk about your company and what you do. I'll pull up the website.
Hey, Jeremy. How are you?
Awesome.
Good to see you too. So my name is Alex. I run an agency called T.A Monroe. We've been around 7 years, and we specialize in B2B tech and SaaS, demand generation and paid media. So basically what we do is, if you're struggling with poor quality of leads, increase in customer acquisition costs, or you're trying to scale with paid media, we step in, we build frameworks, we work with you to define your ICP, refine your messaging, and then we scale together to build what we call marketing revenue engines.
Cool. Yeah, you can check it out right here. T.A Monroe. They also have a podcast right here, Revenue Engine. You could check it out. Alex, just tell people a little bit of some of your favorite. I know you said you were listening to a podcast recently. What are some of your favorite podcasts or episodes of podcasts?
I love listening to podcasts, but what's interesting for me is at some point of time, I guess I listen to a lot of business podcasts, and I like Harmozy. Also, I like SaaStr stuff. So I like a lot of stuff, but at some point of time, I really stopped listening to podcasts because there's a lot of noise, right? And everybody has all these great ideas. So I really try to focus on the Audible and the books because they kind of more sustainable. So I like to listen to that. But recently, so I try to, I like YouTube and watch different things on YouTube. So one of the things, and I watched the episode of probably not somebody you would know, but this guy interviews different people. It could be very different, but it's very interesting people. So this one guy was on a podcast getting interviewed about demographics, right? And in the past, demographics seemed like why would I be interested in demographics? But the episode was 3 hours long or something like that. And it was all about demographics. And it was so interesting to listen to. It just blew my mind how informative that is. And, the sort of social sciences are very important just for everything. So it talked about different trends, right? Different immigration policy. So it talked about all this, the aging, the health. It kind of brought together all these different topics we talk about, right? Obviously, health and longevity. That's an interesting one. And you say, no, like what countries have the longest longevity? Is that true that in some countries with this secret sauce or this special place? And this guy's like, no, that's all BS. It's actual demographics because they're not doing demographics correctly or they don't do service. So, anyways, it's very interesting to step out of your realm, which is I'm interested usually entrepreneurship, tech, marketing, business in general, and just listen about some different things about geography, demographics, maybe new sciences, discoveries, things like that, just to expand your mind. So I thought it was very interesting, and I learned tons of new stuff. Versus when
Who
you
was
listen,
the guest or the host? What was it? Do you remember?
I would have to look it up. I would have to look it up. So yeah, I'll share that with you. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. But yeah, speaking of, like, one of my favorite books is The Blue Zones. Dan Buettner, and
results,
he
right?
talks about, basically it sounds similar, right? And they all the blue zones are regions around the world where people live longer and healthier lives, often reaching 100 or more, right? At a much higher rate than other areas, right? So there's a place in Japan, Italy, Costa Rica, Greece. There's one in the US as well, and these are certain blue zones. So I don't know if that's the same speaker or not.
This guy, no, it's a different speaker, but he's talked about blue zones, and he said in some of these blue zones, he was saying like there is some truth to that, but also some of these things is because of the how they do the demographics and how they count things. So it's very interesting thing. So it's a mix of science and politics in a way too, because sometimes if you don't do them, surveys the right way, it might misinterpret data. But in any case, very very interesting stuff versus when you kind of watch or listen the same things over and over again. You don't learn too much new, some new ideas, but usually it's all the same.
It wasn't This Week in Immigration. Was that the podcast or not?
No, that's something
All right,
else.
you have to look it
I'll
up.
share them with you.
Books. I know you're an Audible person too.
I'm an audit person too, so I actually I love the stuff with Benjamin Hardy. So I love the stuff he did with Dan Sullivan. I like Dan Sullivan. I think he's very profound. But recent book I started listening to Ben Hardy's Science of Scaling. Um, Great book, great audio book, and I don't know. And I just talk about how it's all the same, but for me, Benjamin Hardy just resonates. I just love like the way he puts things. It really resonates with me and making me think, and it's very interesting. And obviously, he worked with Dan Sullivan for a long time, and then worked with thousands of entrepreneurs. So this frameworks is not just like a classroom sort of study. So they coming from real life. So it's really interesting to listen to. So that's something I'm listening right now. So highly recommend this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of his stuff. He's got 10x easier than 2x with Dan Sullivan. He's got The Science of Scaling, which is what you're listening to. He's also got Be Your Future Self Now. He's got a lot of books, actually. Personality Isn't Permanent. Willpower Doesn't Work. Time is a Tool. And there's a bunch other here. Rapid Transformation, The Science of Achieving Impossible Goals. So he's got a bunch here. Nice. I'll have
Yeah.
to I'll have to, I've definitely did 10x is easier than 2x, but I'll have to check out The Science of Scaling, that one as well. So,
Yeah, definitely.
cool. Well, Alex, thank you. Everyone can check out tamonroe.com to learn more, and we'll see everyone next time. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.
Great people, great resources. I'm here with Liana Ling. She's one of my favorite people, and you can check her out and her company out at powerupstrategy.com. And Liana, we're gonna get into software and tools. You're one of my go-to people to hear about what you're using, what you like. Before we get into that, just tell people about Power Up Strategy and what you do.
Yes, so we are an agency and we help B2B visionary owners grow their business and fill up their pipeline through a variety of different ways.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And then talk about some of your, and I'll pull up your site here if people want to check it out.
Sure.
Here we are, Power Up Strategy. Yeah. What are some of your favorite software and tools?
Oh gosh, so it actually, what I find really interesting about this question, especially the way the world is right now, is I actually think that we all need to start from what problem we're trying to solve and what we're trying to do. So yes, you know what, honestly, you and I could probably talk for 8 hours about my favorite tools, but I do find that it's coming at it from a problem solution. What I want to do is actually, I thought I'll share a couple of the general tools, but I actually want to challenge you, Jeremy. I want you to tell me a problem that you have, and let's just no net here. I'll tell you what I think the tools we could use in order to solve that problem. Okay?
Yeah.
Sound good? Okay. So the tools that I'm using every single day, actually, that still help me to actually save time. And that's one of my goals, is I want to free up more time on my calendar so I can literally hang out with cool people like you anytime you ask. And also just find leverage to help my clients win as much as possible. Two tools I use every day. One is called N8N. Okay. And this is just my preference. There's a million other ways you could probably do things with tools that are similar to it, but that Make.com and Zapier are the ones on the market. And the reason why it's one of my favorite tools is because I can take anything, pretty much almost anything that I'm doing manually. For example, if you're like, oh, maybe you have ChatGPT write your blog post, and then you open up your window and you post your blog post, and then you go over here and you make a video, or you make an image or something. I can automate all that with N8N so that either it runs without me even knowing. So again, that's the problem I'm trying to solve, get me and my team out of the weeds. Or it can be triggered by something that is very natural that I like to use. I love Slack. By the way, that's another tool I still use every single day. I communicate in there with my community, with my clients, even in there with my husband, and my daughter. Love Slack.
You have a separate Slack account for family? For your husband and daughter, or how are they in the business one?
So my main company one is the busiest one because they use Slack Connect as well. So what I do, this might be actually a trick that your listeners would probably like. I found out that you can customize the sections on the side. So what I'll do is I'll put for client stuff, I'll put C-client name, and then I will move any chat into that section so it's there. I have one that's contractors or suppliers, right? And then I have one that's family, kind of put in there. So my husband and my daughter are actually in there as guests. I'm not paying for them, but I am paying for myself and my team inside of there, because you get X number of guests per paid person. So that's how I actually leverage it as much as possible. But I do have, I really don't like to do that as much though, because I would actually prefer client stuff to be in a totally separate Slack, because there's been too many times when you're on your phone and then you answer really quick. Have you ever done that? And it's the wrong Slack channel. So if you have your clients in a totally different Slack, there's a lot less chance that you're going to put something in there that you should not be putting into your client Slack. I do that. But anyway, N8N could be, I have it triggering stuff. I have one where I have several different marketing automations I have set up. And depending on which one I want, I have it down to I put in a number, because that's just easiest for me. I have a specific Slack channel, I put in a number, and then I know it's going to create this many variations of ads. It's going to trigger all these automations for me. I have another one that every week it goes in and takes a look at our ad stats, and just proactively, it sends me 3 new ideas as if it was my junior CMO. As an example. And I do it all in Slack because that's what I use. You can do it in WhatsApp. So
you'll do it in Slack. It'll connect to N8N through, let's say, a Facebook ad campaign that you're running.
Yes.
And you'll say 3 in Slack or something, and then it will create. Oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah, that one I set up for writing marketing copy because I got tired of explaining everything. And so what I do is it's a little bit more work to set up, but then I only have to use numbers afterwards, right? So I have spreadsheets where I have the different offers. And then I have other spreadsheets where I have the different frameworks that I wanted to pull from. And so I know that like number 5 is, whatever, like our conference for low ticket funnels, for example, right? So I know, okay, I'll put in 5, and then it already knows that it's, because I've already programmed it, that it's going to go pick at random from one of the frameworks, and then it's going to create like 5 different ads for me and send it all. Actually, I prefer it in my ClickUp for a task, because then I know it's actually going to get done, right? But I don't want to have to type it, like create 5 new ads for this offer. Like that's too much. I know it sounds lazy, but this is too much work now, right? And I'm like, boom, 5. And then it's like, send it all,
So what's connected in that situation? Is ClickUp is connected to Slack, is connected to Facebook?
No, it's all done through N8N. So N8N.
I mean, N8N is connecting all those things, though,
it's
right?
like the traffic. It's like the traffic cop, right? So you have N8N as this layer, okay? And you map out what you want to happen. You map out, okay, the trigger comes in through Slack message, like I prefer. Again, you can do whatever you want. And then you're going to tell it what to do with that message. Oh, I'm going to look it up on the spreadsheet. Okay. Oh, okay. Then the next step is I'm going to have this AI agent take a look at this and take a look at the results and decide which of the frameworks that will probably be better for the next round of tests. Because I also want to make sure that I'm not always using the exact same framework over and over and over again, right? And then I'll have another node that is connected to, I actually like to use Open Router. That's another tool that I love to use because it connects to various tools already. Otherwise, you have to be like, oh, I have to go to ChatGPT, OpenAI, and create an API key. I have to go to Anthropic and create an API key. I have to but you have to collect API keys. If you use Open Router, I can just go in there and select whatever model I want. I just need the one API key, which connects Open Router to N8N. So I'm like, oh, I'm not loving the output here. Okay, let me change it. Like, let me try Claude, Sonnet, whatever version here, or let me try Grok, whatever. I can just go in there and change it. I don't have to like change up all this other nodes and API keys and stuff like that. So I have that to write it out. And then I have another node that tells it, okay, take whatever you wrote, connect it to ClickUp, and you can define what you want in the task name and then the description, when it's due, who you want to assign it to. But all that's happening, and all I did was I put in a number, just as an example.
And the output, does it go in ClickUp then as a task for
Yes,
someone?
it will, because I defined it that way. Yes.
Yeah.
And you can put whatever you want.
Because we also use
headings.
ClickUp, from project management situation. Like if it's not in ClickUp, it doesn't happen because it's got to be assigned with a due date.
Exactly. Yeah. If it gets sent back to me in Slack, I'm not going to do anything about it. Right. So yeah. No, I put it in there because that's how I know I work best. But other people may want it in a Google Doc, or maybe you want it. I have somebody I've designed these systems and implemented them for some clients. And I have one where he just wanted everything by email because that's how their system worked, like with his COO. And I'm like, cool. So we just emailed everything in whatever format, he wanted, and things got done right when we did that.
Yeah, this is helpful. I mean, I'm curious. We could probably spend 3 hours talking about the different ways you use N8N because it's really a productivity. And when you mentioned, for me, I always look at productivity pieces. How can I get more done in less time? And yeah, that I could see that for someone who's wanting to do a number of things. For you, it's maybe different marketing, ad campaigns that you want ideas for, or stats, or whatever it is, and you have all the tools that you use connected to N8N through there. For me, it's optimizing email. So I'm curious, I don't know if there's any productivity things you use for that. Currently, because I feel like I spend a lot of time in email. And so I look at, 80/20, right? As we both know, Perry Marshall, people check out if they have an 80/20 sales and marketing book. But okay, if I'm spending all this time, I want to optimize the things that I'm spending 80% of my time on. And so email is one of those things. So currently I'm using
What's your problem with email?
I mean, I don't know. I just get too many emails. I want to respond quicker. So I'll tell you some of the things I put in place, and maybe I'm curious what you use, because I try and get 0 inbox every day. And so I use SaneBox, which helps kind of filter everything out. And then for
I mean, obviously I have, you know, team members, like if I don't need to execute on it, I'll CC a team member and then they handle it. But like obviously like Calendly for scheduling, and I use Text Expander for short codes. So if I get similar type of inquiries, I use Text Expander and like, you know, just type in a word and it creates that response. And then I started using, from a response standpoint, if it's more customized, you know, Whisper Flow with Gemini, because it's I use Gmail, G Suite. So, you know, people don't know what Whisper Flow is. You could just, you know, click it and it transcribes what you speak, you know, what you talk on your computer. And then Gemini inside of Gmail helps just create my incoherent thoughts into more of a coherent sentences. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think about, or have you heard works from productivity of email or inbox stuff?
Yeah. So for me, my main problem is the filtering. So I just have it filtered through N8N, where the AI goes through my inbox, categorizes stuff, identifies what has to be responded to. Because I'm not like you, where you're very proactive in sending stuff out. When I'm in email, which I don't like to be in, I tend to be responding, right? So my main thing is I don't want anything to fall through the cracks. So again, I have it go into Slack because I love Slack, and it'll just notify me if there's stuff that needs my response, and I just fine tuned it over time. For you, I think you could probably create some type of automation using AI as well, and a database of your contacts with just some information about each contact, so that it could proactively draft stuff for you. So that and then you're more like, okay, I'm going to go through and figure out these drafts here, as opposed to going through whatever's already filtered for you and then dictating like everything that kind of goes in there. Because imagine like if you had a database that had my name, where we met, what I do, some anecdotes about me, maybe it's even got my disc profile or something like that in there. And then you could program an AI to you can actually do it probably now in Google's latest, I think they call it Flow, that you can actually have that in your Gmail now, like running, and you can create customized gems and stuff like that to have it pull from there. But imagine if you had like certain information about each person, and then it would go there, take a look at it, and then it would create as relevant as possible a draft. And then you just go in and change whatever you need to change. But now you've got most of it done, right?
I love that. I'm trying to see, yeah, I do have to figure that out. There was a tool so I had Nicole Donnelly on, who talked about all the AI tools she's using. And there was one she mentioned, I'm trying to look it up. You know, one, obviously, she mentioned a lot of AI tools. And there was one that I was like, this is godsend. Kind of that's claim that they did exactly what you said, except, you know, obviously, you know, we can go in and, you know, you're very technical and set it up with N8N. This was like, oh yeah, you just sign up and we'll do those and we'll pre-draft the emails for me. I'm like, oh, sign me up using, the issue is it disabled one of the features that I used. I'm trying to think of what it was inside of my Gmail. So I'm like, it was a deal breaker. Like I couldn't use it. So your solution is more custom, that would be better for that.
Yes. Yes. And definitely check out. So, I think I just looked it up. Inside my Gmail, it's called Studio, but I had to go into the admin section under AI, and it is a beta feature. So I had to turn that on before it would show up. And then it finally showed up at the top of my
What did you have to turn
Gmail.
on?
I had to turn on, if you go to your admin settings for Google, if you're the super admin, there's an AI section there. Make sure beta features are turned on.
Okay.
And then when you refresh your inbox in the browser, it's like, I can't even describe what the logo looks like, and I can't share my screen right now because you'll see on my emails, but like it looks like two kind of like arrows stuck together. It'll be at the top there. It's not the Gemini button, by the way. So it's a different one. And if you hover over it, it says Studio, and you can create what they're calling agents. And since it's all built in, it shouldn't be in conflict with anything else that you have running right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it, so anyone's listening, you could check it out. I thought it was a cool tool. It just, some of the features I used, it didn't work with, and it was called
Mhm.
Fixer.ai, Fyxer.ai. And it basically helps sort your emails and create responses for you so that you could just approve them and edit them. So it's like, we draft your responses. So it seemed amazing. But for
Yeah.
me, the way I use Gmail, it didn't work.
Yes. But this way you can
You know?
customize it
Yeah,
then
totally.
for you. This actually leads to the final tool that I wanted to share.
Go ahead.
It's called askspot.ai. And the reason I love this is because your team could do this too. It's a very easy way to set up custom bots. And I know you're like, well, why don't we use custom GPTs? Well, not everybody uses ChatGPT. There's a limit to the number of files that you can put inside there. Ask Spot doesn't have any of those limitations. So let me give you a use case as an example. I have one of them where I have it hooked up to the client's podcast RSS feed. And then I also have his book, and we also have transcripts of some of the coaching sessions that we put in there. He runs a webinar, however often, whatever. He used to have to hire all these expert coaches to sit and watch the chat all the time. Now I have the customer service team come in. If somebody asks something in the chat, I'm like, go paste it into this Ask Spot bot that we created. Copy what it told you to do, use your common sense to change whatever has to change, and paste it in the chat. And it's working great. And because I've also fine-tuned that chat bot, by the way, you can fine-tune all the instructions of how we want the output to come in. I've also created one for his sales team specifically. So it has very specific sales team information. And if the sales team has questions, especially product questions or pricing questions or anything, that's where they go to first. And it's very, very easy to create with Ask Spot because it has integrations into Google Sheets, Google Docs. You can put however many documents you want inside of their RSS feed. And then what you can do is you can also view all of the chat history. So what I'll do is, like, maybe once a month, I'll go into that webinar one, for example. I'll look at the chat and the answers. And if there's something that I think just isn't quite right, it has a Q&A section where I can type in, I can just press a button. It takes that question, and then I can customize the answer I want. You could even say, hey, if you can even use these as lead gen tools. So like if anybody, you can say, hey, if anybody starts asking about, oh, like I think I need some help with like my Instagram, then you can tell it to put in your Calendly link there, right? And just nicely, recommend it. I've also done it where I said, like there was a COO, she was very, very busy, with a publishing company. And she's like, oh, the clients ask me so many questions. And I just have this Google sheet where I keep all the answers. We hooked it all up and we're like, okay, embed it onto your page so it looks pretty and everything. Send all your clients there so you don't have to answer the questions for them. You could do that too. Like Jeremy, I would have them take samples of all of your stuff, all like just how you think, create a second Jeremy and tell your team, ask this bot first before you ask me. And they have several models that you can hook it up to as well. So you can decide, which one works best for you. Like, because the downside is you are paying for the credits to use it, but there's so much more upside because it's much more flexible than using just ChatGPT custom GPTs. And you don't need ChatGPT at all to use it. I know the people who created this, I thought they did something clever. They created one when Alex Hormozi's book launch came out. They took all those transcripts there and they put it into one of these and started sharing and said it's free. And then he showed me the chat history. It was like so many people who thought they acted like they were talking to Alex Hormozi, and they're telling them all their business questions and their business problems. And we got so much intel just from reading the chat history. It was amazing. So as you could tell, I've been using this for years. It's been one of my little secrets.
Yeah, I love it. If you're watching the video portion of this, we can see we're in askbot.ai and you can check it out. First of all, thank you. I can chat with you for the next 3 hours, hearing all your tools and software, but I know you have a busy day. So everyone can check out powerupstrategy.com to learn more. And Liana, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.